Welcome to Pop Culture Retro, which was recently voted the 15th best podcast by the residents of Golden Years Retirement Community in Boca Raton, Florida. Each show, we'll revisit some of your favorite pop culture memories with insider and outsider perspectives. Now, please help me welcome your hosts, Moosie Drier and Jonathan Rosen.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Pop Culture Retro. I'm Jonathan Rosen with Moosie Drier, and today we are thrilled to welcome the writer and director of the fun new film, The Comic Shop, Jonathan Bowen. Jonathan, thanks so much for joining us today.
Welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Well, we have a lot to cover, and we'll get to the movie in a minute, which looks like so much fun. It's something that really appeals to me because I was a huge comic book fan, still am, and it's always been a dream to write one, and memories of my youth are filled with weekly comic book store visits. So I want to ask you, so you grew up in Portland. Were you a big comic book fan as a kid?
I was, yeah. I got my mom to take me to a shop at least once a week, and sometimes it would be like one trip, but we'd hit up like 3 different stores. So
I know that feeling. Yes.
She was a trooper.
Oh, let me ask you, what were some of your favorite titles growing up?
Well, so I eventually became a pretty big Spawn fan. Like I had all the toys and all the merchandise I could get my hands on. And when I first started, it sounds kind of funny, but I actually started with comic book cards because I was really young, and there was some older friend who like got me into that. And so that kind of gave me an introduction to like all the characters, because you get the sets, and then on the back of them it would say like origin stories or things like that. And so then I started buying a mix of things, like whether it was Spider-Man and X-Men. I would say it started as mainly Marvel and then moved to Image and even to weirder stuff like Valiant.
I had Valiant comics.
Yeah, I kind of branched out after once I was in like middle school. I think that's when I was kind of branching out a bit more. But I still kept going to the comic shop. Even like in 6th grade, I wasn't really into comics. That was Magic the Gathering. So, and the comic book store still had all the Magic stuff because they knew it was good money. So it's like having a dealer, like you keep going to the dealer no matter what you're into. He'll get it for you.
Today, that's what it is, though. Today, it's like that's exactly what it is. A lot of the bigger comic shops have like the games, they have the Magic Gathering tournaments and things like that, and all the memorabilia, like action figures instead of just comics.
Right. Right, exactly. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I've been into ones that are trying to be, kind of everything to everyone. They've got like the Funko Pops too. The store that we filmed in, the main store, I would kind of say mainly a Funko Pop store. Like it's probably about 75%. So it's kind of funny because if you go to that store, like after having seen the movie, you probably won't really recognize it because we took the store, cut it in half with the false wall, and hid all the Funko Pops on the other side of it, and a little bit behind the curtain where Mike is. So, because we wanted to make it where Mike is very obstinate, like he's old school. He just wants it to be about the comics. He doesn't want all the other nonsense. And that's, I would argue one reason he's not a great businessman is because you're supposed to listen to the customer, not just do whatever you want.
Right. First of all, welcome. Thank you,
Yes.
Jonathan, for letting us. Jonathan and Jonathan, the runners up to Johnson and Johnson.
Yeah.
Two guys with regular normal names just in my face. So what made you decide to go into filmmaking? Were you not getting enough headaches or something in your life?
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
So I guess it was like I really trace it back to the Star Wars Special Edition in theaters, because it was kind of like at that moment where I went to this movie that everyone had seen and I had at home. It wasn't a big deal to me. Like I wasn't a fan or anything, but when I was there, everybody's in costume and there was so much excitement and buzz in the theater. And they cheered at everything. I mean, the first appearance of every character is like wild, wild applause. And it really struck me, and I just thought, wow, like this movie is 20 years old, and we went at 2:30 in the afternoon and couldn't get a ticket till 10:30 at night. And then this crowd reaction. So I thought, this is the kind of impact that you can make, like at the very top of the scale, with film. And I just thought that was so cool. And I think that got me into like seeing every movie I could, learning about film history, and I just became so into it that, it was kind of
Yeah.
all I could think of doing is like I love film so much. I want to be involved somehow.
That's awesome. Yeah, you got bit by the bug. It sounds like.
That you're right though. It is such a headache that sometimes you're like, man, if I could somehow love something else as much as film, I think I would just take the exit ramp.
It's like us men, we don't give birth, right? But
Right.
how uncomfortable and how frightening must that be? They don't look back and go, "I wasn't." Your mother loves you. Like
Yeah.
it's worth it. So maybe our version is, well, it's a silly
It's
analogy,
kind
but
of it's true though. I think about it very much that way. I know some film professors had said that in books and whatnot because you have this film and like right now it's kind of like maybe we sent the movie off to college, right? It's about to graduate and that's the release date. Once it's out into the real world, everyone else can criticize it, say things they don't like about it. It needs to go stand on its own. I gave it all the help I can.
yeah.
I raised it well, and it needs to fend for itself.
Let's back up for 1 second, and for those of us who don't know the synopsis
Sure.
of your film, let us have it.
Yeah, so it's basically there's a guy named Mike, and he runs a comic book shop in suburban Las Vegas. And he's really not that thrilled about it anymore. Like after the pandemic, business has been awful, and he's really kind of lost the excitement of running the store. So he majored in art back in school, and he really wanted to be an artist. And so the comic shop is kind of his plan B. And now even that's not really going well. So Mike is kind of like taken to day drinking sometimes, anything to sort of kill the time. He just looks like he's lost his passion. And he meets a guy named Brandon, who's a high school customer who comes in, military family. He's just moved to town, and Brandon's like full of hope and enthusiasm, and also wants to be an illustrator one day. So these two kind of form this unlikely friendship where it's not a mentor protege thing because like I would argue Mike gets more out of Brandon. And so Brandon basically offers to help like redesign his website if Mike will help teach him how to really draw. And the two kind of elevate each other, and Mike realizes that like maybe it isn't too late for him. Maybe he can still chase his dreams, even if he's 40 years old. It's not too late yet. So
Right.
that's kind of the basic plot.
Well, you've loved comics for a long time, like from a kid. So what made you decide to do a movie? When did this come about? The idea come about that I want to center a movie around being in a comic shop.
It was kind of funny because it wasn't like, I'll be honest, it wasn't the first thought of like, I want to do something comic related. It was kind of thinking about this guy that I knew, Mike, who ran the store and the way his life kind of seemed to unravel to me as a kid. And then it was an adult understanding, like an aha moment. Because when I was a kid, I thought like, man, running a comic store, that sounds pretty awesome. Like, I think I would want to do that too. Maybe I'll do that. And then I'm running a small business as an adult, realizing it's a pain in the butt. It doesn't matter what the business is, between like payroll, bookkeeping, taxes, regulations, all this stuff. And I wasn't really happy doing that either. I wanted to be making movies and I'm making like corporate videos.
Mhm.
So I kind of thought, well, what if I centered a story around some combination of Mike and I and then fiction where it's like this, we'll set it in the comic store, but like it's really about anyone who's kind of, middle age and is thinking if they're where they want to be.
Hmm.
I didn't have that path in front of me where I wasn't a comic book collector or reader. I admit
Sure.
it. 'Cause it's not about comic books necessarily. It's about your paths. It's about your passions. It's about, have I passed my peak or is it ahead of me? And it sounds like, I don't want to
Well,
speak for.
that's exactly right because I mean I reassured some people about that, on the film. I said,
Yep.
look, I'll be honest, I besides the research I did for this movie, I hadn't read a
Mhm.
comic since I was 13 years old.
Hmm.
So I don't anticipate the audiences need to have this deep understanding of comics because even the director doesn't have that. So
Right, but I'm not saying like, well, that's a small demographic about comic strip fans because no, there's a huge,
no,
huge.
it It is. I mean, and I've realized as I've done, more of the interviews and promotion for the movie,
Mhm.
like actually kind of what a big group we're tapping into because it's not just the comics thing, but it's that whole nerd culture and like geek culture thing, which I of course identify with as well. It's just that I'm not as like an active comic reader, but I still have to think that all of that when I was growing up was a creative influence and impact on me. That I always loved storytelling in different mediums, whether it was comics or whether it was movies or TV or video games. I'm a huge gamer,
Right.
and some of the best stories that I've seen in the last 10, 15 years have actually been video games. So I love good stories almost no matter how we want to tell them or what medium we're using.
Right, right. Listen,
Oh,
10 or 15 years ago, the nerds became the cool kids. We know this,
Yeah,
right?
it's
So,
true. It's weird.
yeah. How much of this character is you?
Well, I think Mike has a significant element of me, and then
Hmm.
I'll be honest, I kind of made Brandon a young me, and there was a thought that sometimes like I believe that we all think we get older and wiser, and it's a straight journey forward, just always better than you were yesterday. I don't agree with that at all. Like I think I'm wiser, I think I know more, but sometimes I want to tap into college Jonathan. College Jonathan was somebody that you could have 10 people come up and say you're never going to make it. And I would be like, I don't care. Like, you won't stop me. I'll never stop. Like, until I'm dead, that's it. Nothing stopping. And so sometimes, like, I want to tap into that youthful optimism, that sort of like indomitable spirit that the world does kind of want to take out of you. Like, after a while, we all have our stumbles, right? We get older and we're not invincible anymore. But I still think we have to find that invincibility within us that says, don't let the negative voices be roadblocks. Because sometimes we're the ones throwing up the roadblocks. Like the world isn't even doing it. We're just telling ourselves, oh, what's the point? It probably won't work out anyway. I mean, you
Yeah,
can't be living life like that, you know?
yeah.
And that's what Mike's doing. So I want to introduce Mike to like somebody who it makes when he looks at him, he thinks, huh, that's how I was when I was younger. Like no one was going to stop me. And if he can get a little bit of that combined with his wisdom at middle age, he can do some real damage.
Yeah.
I'd like to do the same thing as you, tap into that college Jonathan again, by the way.
Yeah.
And also, it's okay if neither one of you like pursued comics for a long time. I made up for all three of us.
Nice. Good,
Thank you.
good.
Yeah.
But even without seeing it yet, all right, from experience, you just touched upon it yourself that you put a little bit of yourself into Mike.
Oh yeah.
So if you're a comic book fan, there are certain archetypes in the comic book store. It's always filled with fun characters. I mean, you associate this like fun people, weird people always. So I just want to know, like, how many of those traits did you take from people that you knew in real life, but like the people that come into the comic store?
Yeah, I mean, I think we fictionalize some of the ones, but I absolutely there's one little tiny role that absolutely reminds me of a number of people I knew where they just always want to criticize, you know? And so Mike is like, "Oh, did you read the new issue of this?" And he's like, "Yeah, I heard it sucked," you know? And it's like that kind of attitude. It's in film too, where you're very smug and happy to make fun of something or hear it's terrible. And praise is giving out begrudgingly, only to the top things. It's almost like I don't know what it is. Is it a defense mechanism or some sort of cynical outlook? But yeah, I definitely knew a couple of those people, and it's like,
I
how
it,
are
it
you saying you love this because you like making fun of it more than you seem to actually enjoy it? It's weird.
You're half my age with twice the wisdom, which is I can tell right now. But there's going to be a percentage who want to knock you down
Yeah,
because it's a synthetic way of lifting themselves up,
right.
and rather than support. We're all insecure in our own way. They're looking at their own, shortcomings.
It is always a little funny because, like, I'm sorry, you get this one where you're like on Facebook, right? And then
Mhm.
somebody's like, yeah, well, no one's even heard of your movies and they probably suck anyway. And I'm just like, and you click the profile and you're like, I mean, you work at 7-Eleven. I couldn't even see your movies because you don't have any. Like, I don't know if you
There's that,
call
but they could be the CEO
like
of something huge. But like, hey man, did that make you feel better?
Right.
It makes no sense.
Really weird. I know. Like usually I promise in life you'll feel better if you just ignore the people you don't like and lift the people up who you do,
Right.
because they could use it, you know?
You can also
You-
kill them with kindness, with a
you-
little like, well, I hope you do see it and I hope you enjoy
oh
it.
yeah.
Good luck to you, or
Yeah,
something. Just, oh, that didn't affect him.
totally
He's
done
not
that.
he's not annoyed by me. Yeah.
Right. I know I sent one of the critics guys who, I don't know, he posted some negative YouTube video about the trailer, and I said, I think you'd really like the movie if you saw it.
Mhm.
And I sent him a screener link and I said, if you want to check it out, I mean, I'm pretty confident he would actually like it, especially because some of his criticism was like, "Oh, this isn't representative of the way comic shops are." And I'm like, Yeah, actually, it is though. I did my research on that,
Yeah.
and I have spent a lot of time in them, and I know the changes that have happened because I went to like 10 different stores before we ever shot this thing.
Mm.
Actually, more than that, 10 before we even location scouted, and then location scouting was another 10.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
it
Well, yeah.
is a weird criticism.
Jonathan, guest of honor, Jonathan. Uh, yeah, some of the most successful, brilliant people have been completely criticized and told that they're worthless. Let them say what they want and just keep moving forward.
You have to ignore the trolls. I mean, people like,
Yeah.
I always see this thing, people like tearing down movies before they've even seen it. Just based, you can wait. If you don't like it afterwards, fair enough, but you don't say it without you ever having seen it.
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying. See it
Yeah.
first, then tear it. Then you can tear it down.
Then it's free will. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
you earned the right to tear it down because you saw it. You
Mm.
watched it.
Well,
know?
let me talk about the cast, because it has such an eclectic cast, from Jesse Metcalfe and Tristin Mays to Eric Roberts and even Carrot Top. So, who was the first one you got involved, and how did you go about getting everyone?
Yeah, so the whole thing moving forward depended, the executive producer, which is actually this guy, demanded that we get a lead actor who moves the needle a little bit. And I didn't want to move forward if we couldn't, because I did that in the first movie. And I love my actors from the first movie. They're great. But like the distributors have to think that they check the boxes. So we had sort of a list of people that the distributor said, these are people who we believe you can get your budget back if you can get one of these people in it. And that process took a really long time. Like I want to say we started in either late May or June 2022, and we didn't cast Jesse till October. So it was a lot of just waiting around, frustration, anxiety. And I was very excited to get Jesse on board because I felt that he would be able to see the character of Mike in a way that not everyone would. Like, even if you gave me an unlimited budget for the movie, I know we could get a great actor, but we get somebody then who's always been an A-lister. Like, they started as an A-lister when they were young. Everything went great. I don't know, Leonardo DiCaprio, right? We get somebody like Jesse, and Jesse knows what it's like at the top. Like when he was on Desperate Housewives and on John Tucker Must Die, and at the peak of his fame. And he's still worked so hard and done so many projects, but like he wants to elevate further up there. And I thought, I think he can bring that energy to this role, and that we'll see it on screen. Like that we can see this struggle of like he belongs somewhere better. And I think we got that. So I was very excited. Once we had Jesse, then it really turned to we've got to find our Alex, but of course we need our Brandon. Brandon was always going to be a no name, so that was the toughest one, because that the film is sunk if he's not good. Like he has to act against Jesse. That's the whole film is built on this friendship and relationship. So of course that's nerve wracking. Like let's go find an unknown who can hold his own with Jesse.
Right.
But and then the cameos really came about mostly, I'll be honest, through the casting director, and she brought these things to me that were to me very exciting. Like I loved each one that she brought, even Murray the magician, who's just the nicest guy, and he's in the local news a lot. So I know not everybody knows him, but he's on TV a lot. And what is it? Pawn Stars or something like that, or I don't know. And he does some like magic show stuff. So
And
it's
he's
pretty
big
cool.
in Vegas, also.
Yeah, exactly. And that helped give sort of like a local flair. We're still struggling trying to get like some local media, and that does bother me because we got like Carrot Top, we got Murray, and I'm actually, from what the Nevada Film Office said, the only Directors Guild of America director in the whole state of Nevada. So I'm like, guys, cover your own here, like.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Oh yeah.
you did have the final say in casting. You didn't need to yield to any investors
No,
or anything, but you just
no.
knew enough you were smart enough to know to bring in someone who's going to at least, allow your investors to recoup.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we know on this kind of budget, like we're not going to get a minimum guarantee, but what
Hmm.
we can get is a distributor saying like a best faith, like we really believe if you have this cast and you make a good movie, then we can get the money back. And I'm a risk taker, so I want to do it. But I didn't want to do it stupidly. I wanted it to be something where like, we felt good about what we're putting forward. And but I will say it makes it really nerve-wracking. I mean, I can't imagine, like, I'm sure it's tough on a big studio thing, but if somebody just hired me as a director and it goes good, it goes bad, and my check still clears, of course I'm going to care, my name's on it. But
Yeah.
like the level of care when it's your money is pretty nuts.
In writing something and then you're able to make what you created, you wrote it. So when
Right.
writing the character, so which actor would you say is closest to what you had in mind when you wrote it?
Hmm. I mean, it might be Brandon. It really might be because I was thinking of myself in high school and I was very scrawny. I mean, I wasn't short, but I was definitely like shy, awkward, and just really, yeah, just really scrawny. And so I kind of think that like he's like the closest in some ways, although the Alex thing is tough because you have to understand this script underwent a lot of versions. There is a version where Alex wasn't Alex. Alex was Jeff, and Jeff was a dude. And then, the whole thing kind of became like, well, we've sure got a dude heavy movie. I mean, we really could use like a little more female energy in here. And so then we kind of shifted that to Alex. And I will say she's exactly what I pictured. And she was the casting decision. Like, I know this isn't exactly her question, but I feel like it kind of is the spirit of it. She was the one who I guess I was most proud of for me casting because the Jesse casting came from a list that, I was given and we made offers. Uh, Her casting was really cool because we had just struck out like twice. Victoria Justice is one of them, and my wife is very happy because she knows that Victoria Justice is like on my celebrity crush list. So she basically, before we did this, my wife said there's one actress you cannot make an offer to, and then the producers brought her up because her agent had contacted us, and so I told my wife, "Oh, you're not going to believe this," but and then she's just like, glaring at me. So when we struck out there, she said she didn't get the role. She's not like, she doesn't understand comics. It just wasn't the right fit. So I said, they asked me if I had any ideas, and I said, "Hey, have you guys seen the reboot of MacGyver? So I just binged that whole thing during the pandemic, and they said there's a actress Tristin Mays, and she just seems perfect. Like the way she plays the character in there, I can totally picture her as Alex." And one of the producers like, "Yeah, I know who Tristan is." And so we made her an offer and she accepted in 48 hours. So
Oh,
it was awesome because and it was weird to be honest with you because when you just recently spent all this time watching like 5 seasons of a show
right.
and you see this character and now all of a sudden you're like talking to them on Zoom, it's really weird.
That's
In a
what you're
good
saying
way.
now is an interesting point because that was about to ask that. Because you watch Tristan Mays on TV, you know who Eric Roberts. Eric Roberts had, great career. So, and you talked about nerve-wracking before. Is it nerve-wracking now? You say, "Hey, I have to go in there. I have to direct Eric Roberts. I have to direct Tristan Mays." So, how is that for you? That because I know you made a movie before, but this is a different animal now.
It was a different animal. My only real experience in my mind was on the first movie with Lachlan Monroe doing 2 days, but I was very lucky too. Lachlan was he's so nice, he's so sweet, and he would come over to me and be like, "Hey, I know you're the director, like, but I had some advice. Like, what do you think about? I could do this." And it was always really good advice. And I was really green, it was my first movie, and so I appreciated his advice. And so then this
Right.
time around, I think, I guess I probably was most nervous for Jesse. Jesse is a very strong personality. Well, he's strong in general, physically as well. And so, he kind of like takes over the room, and I'm a pretty dominant guy most of the time as well, but I also know that he's my star. So I'm gonna like, take a step back on that. So I think that I was nervous that we would clash on a lot of things, but I got very fortunate that we really didn't. Like he would have a strong opinion about something, but I shared that opinion like most of the time.
Mhm.
And it became something where like there were a couple things that were in the script that the producers kind of wanted. Yes, I could have said no, but I wanted everyone to be happy. And then Jesse would be like, I don't like this. I don't want this. I don't want to say this. And I didn't like it either. So to be honest, Jesse was kind of saving me. Like it sounds weird, but it's like I would be like, because I would have just probably taken it out in editing. And then Jesse's there on set going, why would he say this? Doesn't make any sense. And I'd be like, I agree. Just don't say it. You know? And
Well,
I don't know, I thought Tristan was so nice and sweet that I wasn't too nervous. I mean, yeah, of course she's so pretty, but like I, sh- she set me at ease. I think she was such a team player that it's felt normal. There is an element though with anyone. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you direct enough things, you don't care anymore. But whenever you've seen somebody on TV a bunch and then you meet them in person, yeah, it's a little weird. It's like, oh wow, they're a real person. Cool.
I think it's weird for a couple minutes, and then once you start getting into the process, then
That's right.
and if you're a collaborator, and it definitely sounds like you are,
Yeah.
then you're not just listening to it, you're in it, you're back and forth, and then you're just talking to another creative person about how what path we're going to take in the best way.
That's right. I think you're exactly right because then you're so in the moment, like creating
Yeah.
these characters or this world that, there's no time, like really to
Yeah.
be thinking about that.
Yeah.
Um, of course, it's something that you like have to be aware of is people's different methods of working. I've noticed like
Yeah.
that might be the toughest thing because all people are not similar. And the funniest part is when I was in school, I hated group projects. I thought they were the worst because it would always end up like I wanted an A and I get put with two people who are totally fine with the B, and one of them doesn't care, is a C is good enough for him. So it's like, guess who does most of the work
Right.
every time?
Yeah.
And the good news with film is that's not true. Like people want to be there. They wouldn't be doing 12-hour days if they didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it doesn't make it easy, right? Because you have, as humans, different ways that we communicate, different ways that we respond to things. Like I've had one or two people, and I'm not a yelling person. I really dislike that. I just am more direct, like, oh, we should do this, and okay. And I've had a couple people who you have to totally baby them and just lift them up. Like you can do this. I know you can. You're a heck of an actor, man. Go back out there. And it's like that's all they need is somebody to just believe in them. And then there's a couple other people, and this is the worst one. They do not respond to anything but you yelling at them. I don't know. Maybe it's like an upbringing thing. Maybe that's the way that things got done at home. But you'll be like, "Oh, can you do this? I would really appreciate it." No, it will just be the same thing as usual. So you almost have to be like, go over there, give me and then all of a sudden it happens, and you're like, I feel dirty that worked. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like that. That's not the way I want to
Mm.
like do anything, run a company, a set, or anything like that. But it's like, I swear to God, there's some people that do not respond to like just
Which is unfortunate because, most people, once you do raise the voice, they freeze up and they lock up, and now it's tense, and maybe you're then hindering their creativity a bit by yelling, and I'm with you, like,
Exactly.
just talk, because
I
it's,
think
yeah.
yeah, I mean, we've usually had like a good, I think, friendly sets, but like there's
Mhm.
always, one thing you have to be aware of, and it's happened on both movies, is a toxic person. And
Yeah.
they've got to go early because they start, usually it doesn't start with me. It starts with them like making a lot of other people unhappy. And then I hear about it sometimes
Mhm.
towards like the end of this.
Yeah.
And then usually they piss me off. And that's the last straw because
Yeah.
I've already heard about them from like five or six people.
Eric Roberts. I mean, if you've probably seen The Pope of Greenwich Village
Yes,
years
yes.
ago.
Actually,
I
just
mean,
rewatched it about 2 months ago.
it took my thumb. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's done some amazing work.
it was fun. Eric was also really, he's funny. He really is funny, but
Yeah,
he's such a good actor that sometimes you don't know if he's joking. So like when
yeah.
he gets to set and he was there 3 hours early, and he starts looking at his watch and going like, "Oh, well, guys, I hope we're gonna get this underway. I got to be out of here in 15 minutes." I'm looking at my first AD like, what, 15? Is he joking? Like we have a whole nother scene to shoot. And then my AD's like, relax, he's joking. He does this a
He's
lot.
joking. If anybody, Eric Roberts knows that, hey, you're going to sit around, you're going to wait, and your scene,
Yeah,
your time will come. You wait for it.
it's
So
so true.
I read that Carrot Top had a lot of people, busting up, perhaps during or in between scenes or whatever. How much improvisation did you allow, and how much were you really just hoping they would stick to the script and material?
All of it was improv. I didn't write anything for the scene at all because the scene basically fades into another scene with Mike and
Uh,
Brandon. And so that was just the head of the scene. And so I was like, I'm not going to write anything. Like my rough idea turned out to be almost the same as Carrot Top or Scotty. And so the idea was like, okay, I think he's like a regular customer of the store. And, he's coming in, Mike's maybe set aside some stuff. So then Carrot Top comes in and he tells us like the same thing without me saying anything. He's like, all right, I got this whole like kind of idea for the scene. Like I'm coming in asking for these rare books and and I was like, yeah, that was pretty much my idea. And so then they kind of did some rehearsals as we like set up lighting and stuff for the for the scenes in general there. And it was really funny. I mean, the first take was like F this, F that, F the other thing. I mean, there had to be 17 F words in like 2 minutes. And we were all, dying, like just trying not to laugh as they're recording. But the thing that's most memorable is how like one of my producers starts just beelining it for me, just walking as fast as possible and like pointing and being like, get a safety take, get a safety take. And I was like, oh, that was so funny though. And he's like, yeah, well, what if we don't know who's going to pick this movie up? And he said F word like 17 times. I'm like, yeah, okay. All right, okay. We'll get one. And so like I'd say gradually there were fewer F words, but not zero until like the fourth take. And so I still kind of like I like the scene. I think it's funny, but I still think the unused scene one like the first take was probably the funniest. Like if
yeah,
there was a
that's where you
DVD
get,
outtakes, I'd put that.
even the actor, he or she doesn't even know what's about to happen. They just know the structure of the story or the scene or the arc,
Right.
and so nobody's anticipating, and that's where you get the real feel.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
had one. We had one. It's a little aside, but it's just so funny. Like I'd love to tell this one, but so it was on the first movie. Um, the actor who's kind of like moving in on our main girl, like he's a little shady, good looking dude and all that. So he's sitting with her on the couch, and we've got like the shot so that we see them like head on, and he's got this bottle of vodka and he's trying to get her to drink so he can, put the moves on her or whatever. And so he asks if he can come over and check the framing. And we're like, sure, I guess. I mean, all right, but we're in a hurry. So, and then he comes over, looks at the framing, and he's like, okay, watch this. I'm gonna do something different for this next take. I think you guys will like it. And we're like, okay. So he moves the bottle of vodka so that it looks like it's coming perfectly between his legs and out. And we don't know he's doing this, keep in mind. So we're all like in Video Village, like just, trying to stifle laughter as much as possible. And then when he like leans back and then like it looks even worse. And we were all just absolutely dying. And that's the take we used for the movie because it was adding humor that was not there in the script even.
Right.
Just
How
like a
cool
fun,
he was visual and he knew it. He also
yeah,
knew not to try to run it by you, just to do it,
just to
and
do it.
get your reaction.
I love it. Like those are the little moments on set that I will always remember. It's so fun. It's like that's the movie magic to me is where you have something that's scripted well, like it's funny, but then the actors or whoever else involved adds more to it, and it becomes something that's even better than the way it was written. I mean, that's the happy accident, right? Because
Yeah.
we all know about movies where we see the movie and we think, gosh, the script must have been better than like what happened, you know? So I like to see the opposite of that sometimes, is where it's like, actually, that scene was better than it was scripted, you
Yeah.
know?
Sure.
Well, going from, since this is a comic book movie, I want to talk about two things that relating to comics. You have experience in a way with two big figures in the field. So I was reading you have a story that involves Todd McFarlane.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was kind of funny because it just shows like, parents can be so clueless. So they were building like this custom home and they wanted like as much design inspiration as they could get. So they started, um, just touring like other like custom made homes, nice houses. And I knew what they were doing, like, but whatever, I don't care. It's like adult stuff. I think I was like 13. Yeah, no, I was 12. I guess I was 12 then. And so they come back home and they tell me that, like, yeah, I don't know, like, I guess this guy's house, like, he's some sort of like comic suit or something. I don't
Nice.
know. Like, anyway, like, I think it was Todd's McFarlane. Anyway, he has these, these books he gave me. We told him, like, oh, we have a son back home. He's into comics. And then, I get it. It's like Spawn 1 through 5.
Wow.
And I'm like, you met Todd McFarlane? Like, the guy drew Spider-Man for all this. This guy's like a legend in the
Right.
comics field. And my parents are like, yeah, whatever, never heard of him. Like, they have no idea who he is. And so I'm just like, oh my gosh, I wish I had went. Why didn't I go? I think I could have. I was just at home playing video games or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And so that was a random little story and also weird to me because I think it's weird he was home. Like usually when you tour, I don't know, maybe high-end houses are different, but I've toured a lot of like condos and smaller houses and the owners aren't usually ever home. Like they go out and I don't know, get dinner or lunch or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, and you're also friends with the founder of Dark Horse Comics, right? I mean, so how did that come about?
Well, it was a number of years ago. My dad, because he's up in Portland, and my dad's like lifelong Oregonian. My dad's making the paper a lot for not good reasons lately, but he developed the Ritz-Carlton in Portland,
Oh, wow.
and so he kind of knew the other like movers and shakers up there, and I think Mike was born in Milwaukee, Oregon, which is just it's like a suburb. It's just outside of Portland. And so he's always been sort of like a figure there, but my dad really never knew him until I think maybe 10 years ago. And I actually forget how they met, but then I started seeing Mike a lot and he'd be at like all these parties and events. He's so tall. He's like 6'8". And my dad has another friend, a different Mike. The guy's like 6'3", right? And we call him Short Mike because Mike Richardson is Tall Mike, even though
That's funny.
they're both tall. Like so it was really funny and so I got to know Mike a little bit better over the years and I love his stories. Like he talks a lot, but like in a good way. Like I mean, he's done a lot. So I'll just sit there and happily listen to all of his stories about The Mask or Pamela Anderson or, Hellboy or whatever. And he's a really nice, very generous person. Although I will admit he's not necessarily like easy to reach. Like I've sent him the screener for the movie and I don't know, it's been 3 weeks. I've reached
Oh,
out a couple. He's not easy, but he'll like resurface. And we just had dinner with him over Christmas, and it was just a nice guy, like very,
Hmm.
I don't know, down to earth, and he's so creative. Like this guy could have retired a long time ago, but he loves what he does. And I think it's like a lot of people, they if they retire, what are they going to go do? Just sit around and eat some meals or watch TV. He doesn't want to do that. He'd rather be involved in creating.
So, comic shop, when is it going to come out? How can people see it? And what?
Yeah, so Comic Shop comes out on like all video on demand platforms
Mhm.
April 11. So everything from like Google Play to I believe like Fandango now, iTunes, Amazon,
Yeah.
wherever your preferred place is to rent or buy movies. And of course, eventually the hope is to, get it a streaming deal. But just as so many movies like Lionsgate does this, they go first of all to VOD and then, they go streaming later. I've seen movies on quite a journey. I mean, I've seen them go from that to Stars to like Paramount to then Netflix, then to Tubi, and this is like a 5-year journey through.
Yeah.
So it's one of those funny things where like I don't know about you guys, but I've wanted to see a movie before and had it tell me on like Amazon Prime that it leaves Prime in 2 days.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm staying up late frantically watching this movie. And then like 3 days later, I'd log into my like HBO account and it's like, oh, look at that new on
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Max. And I'm like, what? If I would have
Right.
known it was just moving next door, I wouldn't have stayed up late to watch the thing.
Right. And the 5-year journey is 2 weeks, man. Don't in the industry. Like just that's been my observation to filmmakers.
You'll run into people like the crew or whatever, and it's like, oh my gosh, what have you been up to since the comic shop? And like it's so weird because I'm like, there is no like since the comic shop.
It's
Like
still
I'm it's still active until I'm done with promoting it. And but to them, we filmed in the very end of 2022. So for them, they're like, oh, that was like a long time ago. I'm like, yeah, because you didn't work on poster, the trailer, the marketing, the festivals, all that stuff. I'm still living this reality until I get, totally done with all that.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
funny.
long journey. Even what was the one that they just had? Well, I guess wasn't Snow White delayed about a year? I think there's been a number of movies like that where they were good, they were ready to go. They just decided the timing wasn't right, or
Right.
there's reasons they wanted more time
No
to
way was
market it.
delayed for different reasons than what you're
Yes,
saying.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
true.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we know some of those
Yeah.
social media faux pas and
Right.
publicity nightmares, and
Yeah.
the
And then
usual.
there's the flip side of that where like suddenly somebody who was relatively unknown becomes, blows up.
Mhm.
And say,
Right.
oh, okay, we'll pick up, we'll
Oh,
distribute that film because they have so and so in it. And we'll do it now. Like
you
yesterday,
know,
we're gonna get it out. Yeah.
so to your point on that, and I'm glad it didn't go any further because I would like be killing myself every day. Is the name Glenn Powell was brought up when we were doing casting,
Mhm.
and I just at the time thought like I love Top Gun. I think I saw it 3 times in theaters. It was a really fun movie, but when they brought him up, I thought, well, he's like basically a nobody. I mean, like, okay, so he was in Top Gun, but like he's not like one of the main people. He's just on the supporting cast, and how am I going to want him to lead my movie? I just don't know that that's going to have the value. Like, and so we never headed down the path, and we never made an offer, which is probably good because like what if it was one of those things where we had offered X amount and he came back and said to do it for like double that? Well, then I would be looking back saying, like, I should have done that then. Like, I
Mhm.
absolutely should have done that. And now, he's this huge star where I don't know what it is, but I hear it's $4 or $5 million a movie to get
Yeah.
him there, if not more. It probably depends on the movie.
Yeah.
So it's like I hate to think that like, is there a chance we could have got him 2.5 years ago on like an extreme discount and I'd be sitting on a gold mine right now? But you can't really think that way
Yeah.
because you
How do you
never know.
know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you know? I mean, I've been good sometimes about it. Like I remember when I saw Jenna Ortega and you, I think she was 16 when she filmed and 17 when it came out, something like that. And I looked at my wife and I was like, she's going to be a star. And then, my wife's like, oh, you think so? And I'm like, absolutely, absolutely. Like I would bet anything she's going to be a star. And then when she was years later, I'm like, "Ugh, I wish that like I knew something, but I couldn't act on it. I didn't have a project ready with like funding. But
Yeah.
it sucks when you're like, I knew that was going to happen. And if I could have gotten her at a discount, like you guys are saying, then you wait. And by the time you're ready to release the thing, everyone's like, how did they get Jenna Ortega? I'm like, because Jenna Ortega wasn't Jenna Ortega when we got her.
Right.
Like, can you imagine though how much worse it would be on the other end? Like, boy, you always have that fear now that what if you cast an actor? This is in the last 10 years, right? Maybe
Mhm.
7, 8 years, and there's some sort of Me Too moment or
Mhm.
some sort of scandal, and then you could have made a great movie, and everyone worked so hard, and
Yeah.
the distributors might say, "Look, I'm sorry, but
We can't.
what do we do with this movie? I mean, your lead actor is like kind of persona non grata at this point."
Yeah.
Oh man, I feel so bad for filmmakers and crew who are like in that position.
Well, you kind of said that your focus is all right now is on promoting the comic shop, but want to ask, what are you working on next? Do you have something in mind?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's funny because I always joke that that question is kind of like uh it makes me nervous in the sense of like I want there to be something next, but I need this movie to succeed. That doesn't mean that I don't come into it with plans. I've got a number of other scripts. Some of them are kind of like deprioritized, but I've got two other scripts that I'm pretty excited about that could be done on reasonable budgets, not comic shop level low, but I'm talking like $4 to $10 million, like not huge budget things. And then I've got another outline I'm working on, and it's it's kind of like a horror film, but I would see it as like satire of the wellness industry.
Mm.
I want to kind of make something where there's like a cult that's developed around wellness, and they've just taken it too far. It's like a bunch of people. Maybe it started good. They're getting healthy. They're getting in touch with their spirituality. And fast forward a couple of years, and it's a scary cult.
Right.
And so like because I think that that's such a like part of the culture now. You always hear these new like fad diets or even like crystals and whatever it is. Like, oh, you have to harness the power of the crystal. And that's all fine. It's all harmless. But I just thought, boy, if you took that a little too far, it could get a little scary.
Yeah.
And I want to take it too far.
Well, how can people follow you on social media?
Yeah, so I have at director Bowen on Instagram. That's like where I probably post the most. I don't really use X. I use it for following the Vegas Golden Knights. So if you ever see my posts, it's just complaining about Golden Knights related hockey stuff. And then I also have a website, directorbowen.com, and I try to keep that regularly updated with any sort of appearances or anything, that's relevant to like what's happening, articles, and
Yeah.
even though like I don't get a lot of readers, it's good for me because I can actually keep track of all of these things, and it's fun being able to look back and, oh, that's right, I did this interview with these guys. That's fun.
I was on it. It's a great site. Nice and
Yeah,
clear, and there you are. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just launched it in October and I had 3 days to do it because I was like, what am I doing? I'm gonna go promote this movie and I don't even have like a website. I got to get this done. So I did it before the first podcast interview I ever did, but I was so tired on that one too. I was like got the caffeine going. I'm like, thanks for having me.
All
well,
right.
it's all right. A lot of my social media was always complaining about the Mets and the Jets, so I get it.
Yeah, totally. It's just like it's funny because we're all reasonable people until it's our sports teams. Like,
Right.
why did he pass? Why didn't he just shoot? It was wide open.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
Jonathan, I want to thank you again for coming on today. It's been a pleasure talking. I really look forward to this movie. Like I said, as a big comic book fan my whole life, this is definitely hitting home for me.
Oh, good. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for having me, and I do hope you guys check it out and enjoy
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah, man. Hey, you got a new fan here.
Yes.
Genuinely. Like I love to see you're a nice guy. You're not
Oh,
arrogant
thanks.
about your work. I'm gonna watch Comic Shop.
Nice.
I'll send you my personal review, honest
Okay,
personal
dude.
review too.
I want to know. Yeah, I want to
All
know.
right.
Absolutely.
Right on.
Well,
Thank
again,
you guys so much for the
thank you.
support. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
well, again, this has been Pop Culture Retro. I'm Jonathan Rosen with Moosie Drier, and again, a very special thanks to Jonathan Bowen. And please like, comment, and subscribe.
Thank you for tuning in to Pop Culture Retro, where no one was hurt during the making of this podcast. Listening to this podcast just makes you really cool.